Welcome to the webinar recording of What's New in Dynamics NAV 2017, brought to you by ArcherPoint. Dynamics 2017 caused quite a stir in the NAV community when it was first released last fall. In this video, Bruce Kennedy, Solution Consultant at ArcherPoint, will show you some of the key features of this release. So let's get started. Bruce, over to you.
Well, thank you, Suzanne. So there's so many things that Microsoft has released with the 2017 version. I thought I'd start off with the web client and look at the integration that Microsoft NAV has with Office 365, including email and Power BI. Then we'll jump to a Windows client and we'll look at some of the other functions and features that are available. And we'll wrap up again with the web client as a finale. So let's start. All right, and now we're in the web client, and I've logged in as a sales order processor. Now, from the web client, I have many ways to be able to get to information from NAV. Here I see my workflow tiles, my graph, and as I scroll down, I have other information, my items, my customers, and I've also got the capability of generating Power BI reports. There's no enabled report yet, but we'll do that in just a moment. From here, I can also click on Office 365, and this is going to present me with a SharePoint view of Microsoft Dynamics NAV. Now, I also have here three different roles. Right now I'm under the financial performance, but I also have order processing and service management, and again, Power BI. As you can see, there's other information available to me: team discussions, trial balance information, receivables by customer, and financial reports. Let's go take a look at the apps that we have. I'll click on Office 365 apps, and I'll open up Outlook. Now, I'm in Outlook, and I see that there is an email from Bruce Kennedy, who also happens to work at the Canon Group. I'll open up that email, and I'll maximize it. And I see Bruce has asked for a quote for installation. I'll click on the Dynamics NAV tab, and this is going to open up information related to the Canon Group, of which Bruce Kennedy is a contact. Here I have details as far as the account receivable balance, sales, a graphical representation of aging report, again, the sales history in workflow tile format, statistics, as well as other information available about the contact. Now, since he's asked for a quote, I can simply come up to here, click on New, and I have the availability of generating that quote. I can also do a sales invoice, an order, credit memo, or a statement, a reminder. It's very easy to be able to use Outlook and integrate it with the NAV application so that you can have all of your work in one area. Now, let's exit from here just for a second. We'll come back to our apps, and I'm now going to go to our Power BI. I'll sign in. And here I'm presented with dashboards about the Microsoft Dynamics NAV information. Now let's expand this left area. And as you see, there are data sets, which are the informations that our reports and dashboards can be created from. Right now, we have a Microsoft Dynamics NAV information. You can also have Microsoft Dynamics CRM or any database information. From that, you can create reports, and from the reports, you can create your dashboards. Now, let's go ahead and click on Datasets. And this opens up a clean palette so that we can create new reports. Let's do that. Let's create some reports, and then we'll install those on our Role Center. So the first one I want to do is a salesperson report and by sales. So I'll come over here to the fields, and I'll open up the top customer overview, and I'll click on our salesperson and the sales. Now this has created a tabular view of our 2 sales reps and what their sales year-to-date is. But we can create visualizations to give us a much more robust way of viewing that information. For example, if we wanted to choose a pie chart, we simply come over here, click on pie chart, and now we're seeing the information. And if we hover over that, we can get detailed information related to JR's sales, as well as the sales for salesperson PS. Now, if I wanted to, I could expand this, move it to any area on the screen, and if I click off of it, I'm able to create additional reports. So let's create a second one. This time we'll do sales and profitability by customer. So I'll come over to sales, profitability, and customer. So now we see all of our customers. Let's go ahead and expand this, and let's put this up here. Now these 2 reports are able to be interactive. So if I now click on JR and look at only JR, PSs have been grayed, and I see only the information that relates to JR. If I click on PS, I have only PS information. And if I click the total, I have, again, all of that. Let's do one more. This time, we'll do it with our sales and profitability in a map view. So again, we'll have our sales, our profitability. We'll do our salesperson code, and this time we'll add the country region, and we'll change that to a map. Let's expand that and move it to here. Again, all of these are interrelated. Clicking strictly on JR, I'm highlighting JR's territory, which is Europe. Clicking on PS, we have the North American territory. So let's go ahead and take this and move it to our Role Center. So I'll come up to File, save the report. We'll call this Sales and Profit, and I'll save that. So now the report has been saved. Let's exit from here. Come back, and I'll open up all the apps, which includes NAV. Remember, we had no reports before we started, so let's go ahead and add that new report that we created. Click here, and we'll select a report. And here's our sales and profitability. So I'm going to open up and edit the list. Lost it just for a second. Enable that. Say OK. Now, the report that we had created is available on our Role Center. So those are just some of the examples of the integration that NAV has with the other Microsoft products. We used email as well as Power BI. Let's take a jump over to our Windows client. And let's look at some of the functionality that we have available there. One of the new features that has gotten a lot of discussion is the fact that Microsoft now has, with items, attributes. Attributes are different than the variants that are common with the item master. The attributes allow you to create information about your items so that you can then find your items very easily. Let me give you an example. Under items, I have a group of items that are in the paint category. And my paints have different colors and they come in different size containers. So if I'd like to be able to find all paints that are red, I simply now click on Filter by Attributes, and I enter the fact that I'm looking for a color, which is one of the attributes that I have, and I'm looking for the value of red. I simply say OK, and now I'm looking at all of the red paints that I have. If I want to be able to fine-tune that, look for red paint in quart containers, I'll come back here, and I can also say that the size and my values for size are quarts as well as others. Say OK, and now I see I have these two items. So I can quickly find items that are needed by my customers when I'm doing sales orders and be able to get that. Now, how did we create those attributes? Well, let's clear this filter for a second. And I'm going to come over to Navigate or Actions and click on Attributes. So here we see the different attributes that are available. If I open this up and I use the Advanced area, here we see that you can create any type of attribute that you want. So not all of my items are paints. Some of them are pieces of furniture. So I have depth, width, and heights related to that with material. Model year for some other items that we sell, as well as the paint information. The different types that you can have are options, such as our different colors. You can have a decimal value, an integer value, or text information. Again, these are all user-defined. You create the different attribute codes, give them the different values, and associate those with your items. Now, one of the new features as well, let's open up one of these items, is the item category code. So before, you had the item category code and the product group codes that gave you a hierarchy for your inventory. Now, you have the ability, if I open this up, to be able to create an unlimited structure of indentations for the different attributes for your items. So this gives you a far more robust way of being able to report on the hierarchy of your inventory. So let's now go to another area, and I'm going to jump over to our Goal Center again, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Optical Character Recognition, or OCR. Now, OCR came out in the 2016 version, but it was limited in the fact that you only had the ability to scan total amounts of vendor invoices. The 2017 release has now expanded that functionality to include the different lines that are on that particular vendor's invoice. So let's go take a look at one that we've already scanned and sent to our service provider, which is Lexmark. Now, within Lexmark, you have the ability of scanning an invoice from your vendor and then sending that to Lexmark. They will do the OCR recognition to that and then send it back down, and you can start processing that. Or you can have your vendors send it directly to Lexmark, and they can do their processing and then send it down to you. So here I have one that's already been sent in. Let's go ahead and open this up and take a look at the PDF that was used for this invoice. So here you see the invoice that we received from Polychemtech, and it's for these 6 different items, line items. Now, Another nice feature with the OCR is the fact that in this example, these items are the vendor's item codes. They are not our item codes. So in order to be able to bring those in, I've created cross-references from their items to our items. So their M items are now going to come in as my numeric values. Let's go ahead and exit from there. Now I will create the invoice. And we see that purchase invoice number 1008 has been created. Let's go take a look at that purchase invoice. 1008. And here you see the half dozen different line items with the quantities and the purchase prices, but also note that the cross-references have brought them in as our inventory items. So that's a nice feature that the OCR functionality now provides, being able to bring in different line items with different item numbers or general ledger accounts. Let's look at another area. I'll exit from here, go back to our role center, but I'm going to jump over to another role center, the business manager. Now, a nice feature that has come in from the financial arena is the fact that you can now have NAV create your financial statements. Now, not all financial statements, but the basic reports that you're familiar with, the P&L, the balance sheet, cash flows, reports such as that. So if I go over here to financial statements, I see those different types of reports that I can create. I simply click on statement of cash flows as an example, indicate a starting and ending date. Do I want to use filters of my different dimensions? I'll go ahead and preview that report. And here we see the cash flow statement in this example. Now, this was not created using the account schedules. It was created automatically by NAV. Well, how did NAV understand how to capture the information appropriately? Well, that relates to some new features that are available in the chart of accounts. So let's go take a look at the new chart of account card. I'll open up an example using an expense account called lodging. So in addition to the normal income statement or balance sheet account that we've always been familiar with, there's now an account category and an account subcategory. So here the categories are your basic trial balance groupings: assets, liabilities, equities, income and expenses, and cost of goods sold. But the account subcategory allows you to take something such as an expense and to break that down further by using the different accounts that are associated with that grouping or sub-account, in this example of expense. So the account category and the subcategory are now used to create the reports, the balance sheet, the income statement, statement of cash flows as we saw, without having to create those reports. It's simply now looking at the different classifications of the chart of accounts. Let's also come back to our role center for the business manager and look at the assisted setup and task. This now is a wizard that allows you to be able to easily create new setups when you're starting up in the NAV 2017. Let's click on this, for example, and look at some of them that we have. Migrate business data, bringing in data from other applications. Statement of cash flows can now be auto-generated using this wizard and the Cortana or Katana application, as well as setting up emails, reporting, and other areas, as you can see. Now, I've created a new workflow for customer approval, but let's run through that just to show how that is easily done. And customer approval is a new template that is in the 2017 workflow engine. So I'll click on that. As it states, I've already done it. Do I want to do it again? Yes, I do. So now I'm at my starting point, and I'm going to click Next, and it's going to ask me, all right, who is one that will authorize or approve the new customer that's been set up? So I simply open up my different users. I'll say Greg is the authority to approve that. And then when does this workflow kick off? Does it kick off when it's something is sent manually or when a user changes a specific field? So I'm going to set this to manually and simply say Next. And now it's been established. It was just that easy. I'll click Finish. And let's go take a look at customers. And if I was to click New, one of the things you'll notice is I'm immediately presented with a group of customer templates in this example. I can simply click the template that I want to use. It fills in all of the predefined fields from that particular template. I fill in the detailed information such as name and address. And then since I requested this particular workflow activity to be manually generated, I would simply send approval request to Greg, who would receive that and then either approve or disapprove. How would Greg get that? He can get that in a variety of ways: an Outlook email with a hyperlink to the customer card, or perhaps using my notifications on the Rule Center that when he's in the NAV application would pop up and let him know that there's an approval that requires his attention. Let's also go take a look at a new feature related to customers, and that is in CRM. Now, for years, decades, NAV CRM has always had the wizard to allow you to be able to create an interaction, create an opportunity, your campaigns, all wizard driven. Microsoft has streamlined that process in 2017, enabling you to simply complete a form and process the transaction. For example, let's take a look at our contacts for the Canon Group. And here we have one for David Hodgson. Let's go ahead and edit that card. And let's create an interaction, something that, again, required a wizard in the past to be able to do. When I create that, I'm now given more information on a simple card. And if I wanted to use interaction details, I'd simply click on that tab. Here I use a code. Let's say that this was an outgoing call on our part, and it was generated by our salesperson. And then I want to add my comments associated with that. I simply enter in call to David, say OK. And then if I show more fields, I have information such as the correspondence type, was it an inflow or an outflow of information, an evaluation of that particular phone call, as well as the ability to associate cost to that, and then simply click OK, and I do not want to create an opportunity. So now I've got that interaction with David Hodgson's, and if I wanted to look at the interaction log entries associated with that, we see the phone calls that we had made to David. So again, it's much easier to be able to use CRM for interactions, opportunities, and campaigns. Let's look at another area that's new within NAV, and that is smart notifications. So I'm going to go over here to the search engine, and I'm going to type in my notifications and open that up. So what Microsoft has done now is to allow you to be able to enable or disable these little notifications that can occur whenever transactions that are using them happen. For example, if inventory is low, do you want to get a notification about that? I'm going to say yes for our example. There's also things such as customer has exceeded the credit limit that you've established. There's a warning about unposted documents. Confirm posting outside the fiscal year. Customer has an overdue balance. Confirm after posting a document. Do you want to go see that posted document? Yes or no? And then items running low on inventory. We've enabled the item availability is low. Let's generate a sales order. I'll create a new sales order. We'll do this to the Canon Group. And we'll say it's for an inventory item 7,000. And we'll put in a large quantity. And here is the smart notification. The available inventory for this item is lower than the entered quantity. And there's a details hyperlink. If I click on that, it gives me more information available about that particular item. I have 0 in inventory. I've got a request for 10,000, which I don't have, and then other information about that. Also note that we can create a purchase invoice directly from here for that particular item. So that's an example of using smart notifications. Let's exit from here, and I'm going to jump over to our web client again. I'm first of all going to log out as the administrator and log out of the apps of the administrator. And I'm going to sign in as another person. I'm going to sign in as Megan and enter the password. All right, so I've now logged in as Megan, and Megan is a project manager. She uses jobs. So let's take a look at the new job card. In prior releases, jobs were in 3 different areas. There was the job card, there was the job task lines, and beneath that, the job planning lines. What Microsoft has done now is to take the task lines and insert them in the job card. So you have a high-level information immediately when you log into the application for that particular job. If we go to the job planning lines, here we see all of the detail about the task lines themselves. Also note that Microsoft has renamed what was previously schedule and contract to now budget and billable, something more North American, if you will. I have Megan associated to several lines on the planning lines, and one of the new features with 2017 is the ability to send that to a calendar. So now as the project manager, we have the ability to send to the different resources on their calendars the tasks that they have been associated with, the planning lines, if you will. So I've already sent those. So let's go take a look at Megan's email. Open that up. So now we're in Megan's email. And I have several emails that have come from the administrator. If I click on one of these, it is actually an invitation for processing one of the task lines. If I look at that task and view that, I'll see that for that particular job planning line and for the particular time, I'm required to work on this particular job. Now, one of the nice features as well is that in this case, Megan, once she's added that to her calendar, she has the ability to use that calendar to enter her actual time. She simply opens up calendar, enters the number of hours that she's worked for that particular planning line, and then sends that. That automatically updates the job journal, in which the job journal can be approved and then posted to the job, simplifying the entry problems that perhaps were in the past. So those are some of the features that I wanted to present from the Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2017 version. There's several others, such as extensions and the like, but I wanted to open it up for questions at this point, Suzanne.
Well, hey, we appreciate you setting aside a few minutes of your day to watch this webinar. We hope you consider it time well spent. Please send your suggestions for future Lunch and Learn webinars to info@archerpoint.com. Again, thank you for your time, and this concludes today's session.